My daily symphony was a melody that I knew by heart, composed of the gentle hum of the nail drill and the fragrance of acetone. I have been transforming ordinary manicures into canvases of confidence and color for the past decade. My name is Katie. An act of care, each brushstroke was more than just aesthetic, it was a gentle insurrection against the world's grayness. My existence was depicted in a more expansive, mellower palette outside of the salon. For 7 years I resided in a comfy brick house on Maple Street with my spouse Matthew. Matthew, a philosopher at heart and an engineer by vocation, brought logic to my spontaneity and calm to my chaos. Bruce, our golden retriever, rounded out the trifecta. He was a gentle soul with eyes that were brimming with loyalty and a tail that would wag in unison at the first indication of affection or food. We both enjoyed the rhythm of our days. The mornings commenced with the clinking of utensils and the aroma of coffee. Bruce is gently whining for his breakfast. Curled up on the settee, a movie flickered in the background. Evenings were spent this way. Bruce was situated at our feet, and our digits were intertwined. I found it to be quite straightforward. It was secure. However, Matthew's silence, a soft, creeping distance that words could not fill, was the beginning of the cracks that began to show, much like any carefully constructed existence. His guffaw, which was previously effortless and frequent, now appeared to be strained. He would gaze out the window, absorbed in thoughts that he did not express. When I inquired, "Are you feeling well?" his smile was consistently gentle and reassuring yet false. Initially, I justified my feelings as tension and work-related. Each individual undergoes phases. However, the uneasiness persisted. His phone, which was previously haphazardly dispersed throughout the residence, was now consistently within his possession. His evenings at the office were extended. The man I knew as my partner and closest friend was gradually transforming into a stranger. Next, the note was delivered. "Katie, you are entitled to the truth," which was concealed beneath the salon door in an unsigned and uncomplicated manner. I observed him from the opposite side of the supper table that evening. He appeared fatigued, his eyes weighty with the burden of an unspoken matter. I desired to shriek in order to demand answers. However, I was only able to utter a whisper. "Matthew, what is the matter?" Once more his response was, "It's simply work." Nevertheless, I refuted his assertions. The following day I required clarity, air, and space. I led Bruce on a stroll through the garden behind our apartment building, a tranquil oasis of lush vegetation. I discovered a bench beneath an ancient oak tree as he searched through the underbrush, his tail wagging. Its leaves rustled in a manner reminiscent of murmurs. I closed my eyes, allowed the sun to caress my skin, and endeavored to calm the internal turmoil. That was the moment I observed it. A tiny ornate box that is partially submerged in the soil near the roots. Inside were letters that had been wax-sealed, and their edges had naturally yellowed over time. It commenced with an address to an individual named Eleanor. "Dearest Eleanor, I am at a juncture, and I have been reading for hours." The letters recounted the narrative of a woman who was attempting to reconcile betrayal, lost love, and truths that were deeply repressed. However, her anguish from a different era was reminiscent of mine. Her quiet fortitude, her misgivings, and her yearning. It was akin to peering into my own psyche. I kept those letters in my outerwear pocket upon my return home. I did not confront Matthew with accusations that evening. Rather, I confronted him with the weight of my own perplexity. He acknowledged his guilt. Contrary to my expectations, it was not an adultery. Rather, it was an act of betrayal of a different nature. The initiative that Matthew was working on was a corporate development that presented environmental risks. He maintained his silence due to his apprehension of retaliation and the potential for me to be drawn into the ethical dilemma. However, the silence had constructed a barrier between us. I began to construct my own in the midst of my loneliness and uncertainty. He stated, "I did not wish to cause you any concern," his voice quivering. "However, you did so by refusing to trust me and by not allowing me to enter," I murmured. Stillness, a heavy, aching stillness, followed by my own confession. Matthew, I was feeling incredibly isolated and disoriented. I did not commit any unforgivable acts. However, I was substantially closer than I should have been, not in terms of physicality but rather in terms of sentiment. I terminated my computer. I withdrew into a version of myself that I was unable to identify. His pupils became more empathetic. What was the reason for your failure to inform me? I was under the impression that I had already lost you. Not only between us, but also within ourselves, the days that followed were a period of reckoning. We allocated space. I resided with my sibling. Each day, I returned to the garden to continue reading Eleanor's narrative. She too had made errors. She too had endeavored to preserve what was left. She wrote in one of her final letters, "Forgiveness is not a surrender. It is an option to remain, to reconstruct, or to relinquish in tranquility." Matthew greeted me at the door upon my arrival home. Bruce's tail waggled as he growled and circled my legs, as if he had not done so in weeks. The final letter was in Matthew's possession. He remarked that she resembled you, to which I responded that she resembled my former self. Despite the fact that we did not possess all the answers, we now had the truth, which brought about a glimpse of hope. We collectively planted a small tree in the garden, which serves as a symbol of healing and growth. We did not pledge to forget, but we did pledge to extend forgiveness. And occasionally, that is the way in which healing commences, not with a dramatic conclusion, but with the gradual growth of roots beneath the soil. I appreciate your attention. If you found this narrative to be engaging, please consider liking, subscribing, and activating the notification chime to receive additional captivating narratives. The story's just beginning. There are more broken hearts and dark secrets ahead. Hit like, subscribe, and keep exploring with Love Missteps.